There are three types of muscle contractions which allow us to apply force in sports: the concentric, the eccentric and the isometric contraction. Concentric and eccentric actions apply a change in length of muscle fibers and are called dynamic muscle actions, and isometric actions keep the length and are called static. A concentric contraction is a type of muscle contraction in which the muscle shortens while generating force. This will always be a movement where you overcome gravity and move any kind of weight upwards and bring your muscle attachments closer to each other, like when you push or pull yourself up. Eccentric contractions are the opposite of concentric ones and occur when the muscle develops tension while lengthening to slow down a downward movement. This is the negative part of the movement and makes your muscle attachments depart from each other, like when you let yourself down during the push-up or the pull-up. Isometric contractions occur when the muscle develops tension to withstand a resistance without any change in length. This will be holding a position at a specific point when the muscle attachments remain the same distance from each other. The concentric movement is usually the hardest one, because you have to overcome gravity. The next one is the static movement, when you hold it at the hardest point with the longest lever, because you have to hold your body in a specific position against the gravity. If you hold yourself in the top position of a push-up, it's significantly easier than holding your body close to the ground. The last one is the eccentric movement. Here you can use up to 150% of your maximum strength, because you don't have to work against the gravity, but just decelerate the movement. That's why the negative part is much easier than the positive one. It's easier to let yourself down during a pull-up than pulling yourself up. The eccentric movement sets a higher stress to the muscle, because your muscle lengthens but tries to shorten, and that causes a higher mechanical stress, one important factor for muscle growth. This applies especially when you're not strong enough to do the concentric part yet, which means that the intensity is above 100%. This can also lead to more muscle soreness. You can only compare those three in the same angle. A static front lever hold would be harder in the horizontal position than the dynamic concentric part in the beginning, when you hang loose and the lever is much shorter. But when you start in the horizontal position with the concentric move, it's harder than the isometric one. Every of these three forms of contraction has its function when it comes to build up strength and muscle mass. In general, it's good to include all of those three into your workout. Let's take the push-up as an example. You are going down and push yourself up, but you can also add a hold at the hardest point. You can do this with nearly any exercise. The important thing to know is how you use these three types for your goals. If you want to learn a specific static movement like a human flag, you should focus on working with statics. But it also can have benefits to include dynamic exercises for that movement. If you want to increase the number of reps for a specific movement, you should work with concentric and eccentric movements most of the time. There are also movements in which you hold yourself in a specific position, and from that you use your concentric and eccentric movements. You can see this at front lever pull-up or planche push-up variations. You hold your body in a horizontal line, and from that position you perform a concentric and eccentric movement. So in this case, the exercise itself is a mix of all three types. At the end, we are taking a look at an important point. Some people will tell you they do sets and reps training. What they mean is they mostly do the concentric and the eccentric part of a movement. But a set can also be a static hold for a specific time. If you hold yourself in a position, your muscles are also under tension. In this case, we don't do reps, but our muscles still have to work. So it's not wrong to hold yourself in a specific position for a specific time, instead of doing a certain amount of reps for the same time. The muscle is still under tension and there are only little differences. In the end, it all depends on your goals, what type of contraction you should use mostly for your training. Another important point is the rep speed, which we already discussed in other videos. So plan your training according to your goals and you will improve in that direction. If you have any further questions, just leave a comment below. Thanks, Alex.